As we begin the second half of the course, we're going to be looking at a professional development series. So basically, when I say professional development, it's going to be this section of the course is going to help you professionally develop yourself. That so it'll tie in line with what we did the first half of the semester. So basically, if you can develop yourself professionally and you can get the career, then everything that we talked about at the beginning of the semester, they will fall into place. So this week we're going to be in the professional development series, we're going to be talking about resumes and cover letters. So that's what we're talking about this week. So the first thing to talk about is what is a resume? So basically a resume is a marketing tool, a key component, it's a written inventory, and it's an interview getter. So when it comes to a marketing tool, your resume is designed to capture the attention and to get you to the next stage in the recruitment process, or the next level for an interview. It presents in writing the skills, accomplishments, and the qualifications that you bring to the employer. So basically, it's a snapshot of what you will be bringing to your future employer. The key component is the first essential tool in the job search process. So even when you start applying for jobs and looking for jobs, the first thing they're going to ask you for is the resume. The resume is the first introduction to a hiring manager or whoever will be doing the hiring process. So it could be your HR office as well. You want them to feel drawn in and motivated to invite you for the next round of interviews. Or if it's just one interview, you want to do so well on that interview that you will offer the job. It's also what we call a written inventory. The resume is an inventory of your skills, accomplishments, experience, and education to date. It should be customized and targeted for each individual position. Later on in this video, I'll show you how to kind of do a generic resume or what we call a standard resume that can go over any job. And it also needs to be an interview getter. This is your ultimate goal with a resume. It tells the hiring manager or your HR department that you have the necessary experience, skills, and education, and they should consider you for the interview. Because the first thing is getting the resume out there. Once you get the resume, you want the resume to be good so it will at least get you in for an interview. Then it's on you once you get the interview to sell yourself. So, what are some of the things you need to include in your resume? Of course, you need to include your education. Coursework is a iffy. I don't normally encourage students to include your coursework. Some colleges do. I don't necessarily encourage the coursework section. You also want to include your computer skills or just skills in general that you have. So, not just computer skills, any skills that you have that will be an asset to the position and to the company. You want to include any projects that you've worked on, any leadership activities, any extracurricular activities, internships, work experience, volunteer experience, and awards. Now, the one thing that is not included on this is you want to, at the very start of your resume, you want to have a professional, if you want to say mission statement or goal statement. So you do want to include that, and I will work with you all to include that. So, but these are the main things that you want to have on the resume, and it is an order that you go. The reason why on this particular one is telling you coursework, because for many college students right out of college, you necessarily don't have too much work experience, volunteer experience, and maybe internships. So the coursework kind of balance that out because it shows an employee the courses that you have taken. So now you have a theory of that particular experience. Where you may not have the experience, you have the theory of how to carry out that experience. So, what makes a good resume? It needs to be clear, concise, consistent, and focused. So, that means it gives the reader a clear understanding of who you are, what skills you possess, your accomplishments, and the career path you have chosen. It needs to have every word needs to have a purpose. Only content that make you strong, that makes you a strong candidate should be included. You don't want to include any of your weakness on this. You want to sell yourself. You want to be the strongest candidate you can for the position. It needs to be consistent. So that means a consistent format focuses the reader on what you have written and not how you have written. So it goes to even the outlook and the appearance of the resume. It needs to be a consistent pattern. Focus. And it needs, for For most people, this is the most challenging part to have the resume focused. You must market yourself on a resume. So you want to focus on your achievements, your strengths, and skills. And they encourage you to use action verbs in this particular section. So then you look at transferable skills. A transferable skill is a skill gained in one job that is useful in another. So many high school and college experience do not directly relate to post-grad career, but most people can always talk about transferable skills. So these are some examples of transferable skills. So a transferable skill, like I said, is nothing but a skill that you've learned in one position and that you can use it to another position. So for example, if you were, let's say, in undergrad, you were, I'm going to say, the president of your organization. You were not a president of a company, but you have the skills now to lead. So that gives you those skills that you can take from being a president of an on-campus club or organization, and then you can then transfer it. It's going to require different work, but then you have the knowledge and the skills to carry that out. You also want to focus on your accomplishments. Any accomplishments that you have done. So let's just say maybe you had the highest GPA, I'm going to say in the junior class. That's an accomplishment for you. You want to put that. You want to show the accomplishments and any awards that you have received that make you a standout. You want the things that are going to make your employee look at you where you may not have the work experience. They see that you have the drive and you have the aptitude to maybe get that experience. So sometimes that's where your extracurricular activities, your volunteer service, even summer jobs, that's where those things help you out just in case you don't have the overall experience, because most of the time they want you to have 2 to 5 years of experience, and fresh out of college you do not have 2 to 5 years of experience. So then that's where you rely on your accomplishments and any other assets that you have to kind of bring you up to that even playing field. They also encourage you to use action verbs, whether you're talking about your skills or just selling yourself. Because remember, at the end of the day, you are selling yourself in this resume. This is the first thing the employee will see before they see you. So you want to sell yourself within this resume. So before you write your resume, you need to think about the type of job you're seeking, the type of person and experience that is required for the job, and what skills and abilities that you have that you can offer. So you need to always think about those things because you don't want to apply for a job and it's completely over what you are capable of doing, and then you kind of pad your resume to match what the employer is looking for, because then when you get there you don't have the skills and the experience that they need. So you want to make sure that you focus on the type of job that you're trying to receive. You need to focus on your experience and the skills and abilities that is required for attributes or your skills. It also demonstrates your knowledge of the organization and why you will be a good fit if hired. And it also showcases your communication skills, your writing ability, and your writing style. So just from the cover letter, the employee can pull all of that information from your cover letter. So those are the main purpose, and that's why it's tied hand in hand with your resume. So some of the guidelines that you need for your cover letter. It should be a single space your letter and double space between paragraphs. You need to use the business letter format, so it's just not one giant paragraph. You actually need to use that format. You want to keep your paragraphs brief and relevant and to the point. You want to tailor your letter to the position and the company because you are selling yourself and you want to show how your qualifications match the job duties and the company goals. You also want to proofread your letter carefully and ask one or two others to proofread it as well so you can account for any misspelling and grammatical errors. You do not want any of those in your cover letter. So again, your cover letter is not just a giant essay. It needs to be in the business letter format. Um, in Normally in professional development, you get those kind of options and those classes teach you how to do that, but we're going to show you also how to do a business letter format the correct way. So the structure of the cover letter. A good cover letter is typically short, usually 3 to 5 paragraphs, And like we said, just said in the previous slide, those paragraphs are not long. You want to be concise and to the point. The opening paragraph, which is your first paragraph, should catch the employee's attention and state what position you are applying for and why. So that's your opening paragraph. Your middle paragraph should develop your theme by providing specific examples of your qualifications and and also your education and what you would bring to the position. And then the last paragraph should close by requesting an interview and providing your contact information. And you also, in the closing paragraph, could then also reinstate why you feel that you will be a great asset to the organization. So again, we in the first paragraph it gives you an example. You state your skills. If you just received your college degree, all of that goes into that first paragraph. So employees receive hundreds of resumes and cover letters for positions. So you want your cover letter and your resume to stand out. So you want to make sure you grab them at the very beginning. For your final exam, we will be restructuring how you can do your resume and your cover letter so you can be one step ahead. So we're going to show you some different trends that are new now that most college students are kind of getting into, but the way that you do it, it could surpass your counterparts and it could land you that at least the interview. So again, in your first paragraph, you want to catch their attention, you want to sell yourself. So again, that's also where you do name drops. If you know anyone that works for the company, and they will definitely give you a good recommendation. And you want to show that you did your research on the company that you are applying for. You never want to just go into an interview and you know nothing about the company or the organization, because that could be the first question they ask you. Well, tell me a little bit about the organization. So you want to know something about the organization. Also, you can ask questions. So you want to include that in your first paragraph. But again, you want to keep your first paragraph short and simple, but you want to sell yourself enough so that if I read that opening paragraph, I'm going to want to read more. In your middle paragraph, that's again where you talk about your experience and your education and why it will match what the employer is looking for. So again, if we go back to that second paragraph, you're showing that the education and the experience and the skills that you have, they will match with what the employer you're looking for. So that's what that middle paragraph is going to cover all of that. And again, it is an example of how you would do the middle paragraph. And then the final one is your closing paragraph, and it's basically you're summarizing everything that you just put in the article, in your cover letter, excuse me, and you reassuring the employer that you are the right candidate for the position. You have the education, you have the experience, and you have the knowledge. You have the skills that they are looking for, and you mirror what their organization or their company is trying to do, and that you would be the great asset for the company. And then, of course, if they need to get in contact with you, you leave your cell phone, you leave a contact number and a contact email. And that's why we encourage you to make sure that your email is very generic. Mainly, you want it to be your first name and your last name. You want to keep it very simple. So, because sometimes that could easily knock you out. So that's how you want to close your final paragraph. On your handout section, I have an example of a resume and a cover letter for you to look over. So that is in your handout section. So basically, we're going to summarize the difference between the resume and the cover letter. So the resume is a matter of a fact document. It shows your skills, your experience, and your education, and it includes scope, size, and achievements. Your cover letter, you're being more persuasive in that document. You want to show the employer that you are right for the position and how your skills can match up with the organization and what and how and why you are an ideal fit for the position and what you will bring to the organization. So that's what we're doing this week. So for your assignment this week, you will do a resume and a cover letter. If you already have a resume, you can use it, but I would advise you to follow the outline that I have on LMS in the handout section to restructure your resume. So you would do a general resume and a general cover letter. That is the assignment due for this week. Again, in the handout section, I have examples of how you can do that. If you would like to make it more towards an actual job that you want to apply for, you can do that. But that's the assignment for this week, mastering the resume and the cover letter. So again, as I always say, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email and we can go from there.